Welcome back to Straight Facts, back with Dan Potts. And it's been a while, but LB is back with us. I'm very, very glad to have him back on TFT. How are you, gentlemen?
Good, man. Good. Very good. I can't wait for club football to return, me. I know the internationals, we all get that up for it when it's on and that, but this club football for me just hits different, bro. It's just, there's more to talk about. You know, you got transfers, you got everything, man. I just think it's clear. It's clear, boys, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for it either. It's only a few weeks away, man. I mean, I don't know where LB's been, but clearly in his new place, he needs a hat and a coat on. I mean, what's happening here? What's going on? Like,
have you never been?
Is it cold? You know what I mean?
Yeah, where have you moved to?
This country is an absolute disgrace. Yeah, it's an absolute. No, it is. It's a disgrace, bro. At 12 o'clock, yeah, I looked out my window. It was grey. It was grey and raining. Yeah, it's not stopped raining. Yeah, for about a month. Yeah, I'm having to, I'm having to take vitamin D supplement, bro. Yeah, because I'm tweaking out, bro. I'm tweaking out, man.
Mate, there's me in my Havana summer shirt sitting here. You know, it's get yourself down south. It is always hot down south. I'm joking. It's been just as bad here. I'm not. In fairness, Germany was the same. When I went to Germany in 2006 during the World Cup, and I know like memory always twists, and you generally remember the better things. But it was like hot every day. Like honestly, all the time we were out there was maybe 5 or 6 days where it was hot and sunny. The rest of it was overcast, grey, and wet. You know, you may, other than the language, you were basically in England. Oh, and they don't screw you over for food over there and drink.
I must say, this was the wettest tournament I've seen in a long time. Like most of the games, it was just raining. I was like, wow, what's happening here? Like, where is the summer, man? Like, where is the summer in not just UK and Europe? Like, honestly, I went on holiday in Spain and it was raining. It was obviously raining in the Euros, raining here all the time. It's one of the worst summers we've had in a long time, man, I've got to say.
No, absolutely. And look, we've got lots to talk about on the show today. Lenny Yoro to Manchester United. Supposedly, we're now winning the race. We're going to be looking at Chelsea and a financial offer they have made for Victor Osimhen. We've got to talk Nico Williams. Barca seemingly not been able to afford him. What are Arsenal doing? What are Chelsea going to do in that space as well? We're looking at City, because they've not really done any business yet. There's been a bid that's come in for Edison that will get rejected, but it's, you know, there's a lot of feeling that more will come in. Is KDB going to go? Who are they going to buy? How are they going to try and hold on to their title next season? But of course, we've got to start with the big news of the day. And I was going to go live earlier, but I thought I'd save it for this show with the boys. Southgate has gone. He has resigned or been sacked, or it's mutual consent. I don't really care. He's gone. He is no longer the England manager. What's your first reactions to that, LB?
Right decision. I think he should have gone after Qatar personally, if not earlier than that. I think he's basically our Brendan Rodgers, man. You know what I mean? He's come in, he's took us to a decent level. You know, he's definitely improved us. He's got the squad united and that, but ultimately, he isn't a winner. You know what I mean? He's never been a winner in his career. You know what I mean? He's won, I think, 2 League Cups as a player, and he won a Toulon tournament as a manager, which is an under-17s tournament, I believe. So he's not a winner. He's done well to get us to this point. Obviously happy to get to finals. You know what I mean? You want to win, but, you know, it's better to get to a final than get knocked out at the group stage. But I think it is time, man. I think it's time. Personally, I think he should have gone before the tournament. I think we could have won that tournament if we had a manager that was a winner. But it is what it is. Can't change back the clock. So yeah, the right decision, man. It's the right decision. The question is though, you know what I mean? It's the right decision. But if we end up getting like Lee Carsley or someone like that, then you know what we're doing there. You know what I mean? What we're doing. We need to go out there and get a winner. We need to go out there and we need to have a manager, yeah. Because you got to think about a lot of these players in this team ain't won nothing. Yeah, look at Pickford, not won anything. Kane, not won anything. Saka, I think he won an FA Cup when he was like 17 and played like 1 game or something. Rice has won 1 trophy. You know what I mean? So you got a lot of players. Gueye, not won anything. A lot of these players haven't won anything, or if they have won something, they've not really been part of the team or whatever. So we need a manager that can help these players get over the line. Because if you look at it, yeah, you look at the final. Kane, poor. Foden, poor. Jude Bellingham, poor. Rice, poor. Kyle Walker, poor. For me, when you're talking about like half the team being poor in a final, that to me is on the manager. If it's just one player, it's on the player. But if half the team is turning up in a final and playing badly, that to me is like, well, the manager's not doing something here. So I think it's the right decision. He should have gone before the tournament, and let's just hope we get the right replacement, man.
I think you're spot on about it being the manager. And I think that Harry Kane shouldn't have been picked to start. Whether it's because his legs have gone or it's an injury,
I agree.
Both of those reasons should make the manager go, you've got to not be in this first team. I think he also made this mistake. And this is not coming from a position of being a rival. And the problem is with a lot of the discourse around England is it gets shrouded in people's club rivalries, club loyalties. And it honestly frustrates the living daylights out of me. I think Foden's brilliant. And if you've watched any coverage of the Terrace, City fans, you know how often I've said how brilliant he is. I also like Bellingham, but they're different players, but they play in the same position. So playing both of them had points of this tournament where they were out on the left. It's horrendous, absolutely horrendous. So Kane was stinking the place out, which created problems. You then got two top-class attacking midfielders, one of which is always playing out on the left-hand side as an example. We had, for the majority of the tournament, a right-footed left-back, so that you had two players on the left that were inverting because they're not left-footed, so we had no width. And this just had a trickle-down effect into the team. You had players like Walker that I didn't think had a particularly good tournament. Again, you've got someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold's level on the bench, not getting enough minutes. There's so many mistakes. I think you have to look at the manager. You are right, we need more winners in this team. But if you compare it to the England team of 3 years ago, the final then, Kane has gone on to win a European trophy since then. You've got like young Kobbie Mainoo that's come in, won a trophy in his first year. Barring Harry Kane, most have gone on to be more successful, especially the City players. You do have to look at the manager. And I know a lot of people are saying Lee Carsley, the Spain manager, whose name I actually don't know off the top of my head. Yes, he was the under-19s and under-21s manager. But I think we need better than that. I think we need to look at the Thomas Tuchels. We've got to look at the Poch's. Poch's not really a winner, but we've got to look at him. I think we should be moving heaven and earth to bring Jurgen Klopp in as the England manager. And I'm talking, I think we pay Southgate $5 million a year. Let's pay 12 million. Let's pay 13 million. Let's pay 14 million. Get someone like Jurgen Klopp on a 4-year deal to get hold of this squad. You said earlier that Southgate's like our Brendan Rodgers. We'll go and get Klopp, because look what he did after Brendan Rodgers left. And this team is too good not to win. And we're also in an era where it's not as if we're up against 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other nations that all have world-class teams and squads. There's one or two that are at similar level to England on paper. They're just managed, typically speaking, better than we are. And the biggest thing we need is a manager that isn't scared to drop the stars. This tournament became all about the stars, just like in the golden generation before them. I've got to play Bellingham. I've got to play Foden. I've got to play Kane. I've got to play Walker. There's nothing I can do. They have to be in the team. Nonsense. There should be zero thought about who they are and what their status is. I love Jude Bellingham. I don't really like the scapegoating that's come out in the last few days, but I do agree the Hey Jude Adidas advert was stupid. England have pushed for 5 years this notion of it's not about one person. There isn't one savior. It's about the team. And then we go into this tournament with whether it was his fault or not, I don't really care. Someone that's gone into it as he's our savior. Every other tournament we've done that, whether it was Michael Owen, whether it was Wayne Rooney or David Beckham, we've failed, and we've gone down that same path again. So we need a manager that's going to pick the best team, not the best players. We need someone who has won trophies before, because it would be a shame to see this generation of England players end their England careers in the same way as the previous golden generation. So I agree. It needs to be a top manager, in my humble opinion.
First of all, I like Gareth Southgate, the man. I think when you look at what he is as a person, I don't think you can't really dislike him. You certainly can dislike him when he's on the football pitch. Tactically, there is so much I don't like about him. I just think the style of play is really weak. Some people have said I don't see a style of play. I do. I think it's a very unattractive one. I think it's a very safe, negative one. When Cole Palmer scored that equaliser, Conor Gallagher was waiting to come on. All the fans are geeing him up to try and get the winner, and he's trying to bring Conor Gallagher on. That tells you everything you need to know, personally, about Gareth Southgate. I'm a Gareth Southgate fan. When I listen to him, I think he handles the media well. I think he's great with the players. There's no doubt the players like him. But when I watch him, it is so boring. And I am pulling my hair out thinking, is this Stoke City under Tony Pulis, or are these players treble winners and Champions League winners? Like, what are we seeing here? I understand the praise he gets in terms of getting England to finals and semi-finals, but the equivalent of England getting to that semi-final and final, in my opinion, people might think this is harsh. This is like Arteta with Arsenal going into an FA Cup draw and beating Lincoln, Huddersfield, Hull, Chesterfield, and then getting Manchester City and losing in the final. And everyone going, well, he got us there to the final. That is the equivalent of what Gareth Southgate did in this tournament. There is nobody that can tell me that England should have lost any of those games before we faced Spain. Nobody can tell me that they were like, wow, how have England got through that? How did they beat Slovakia? How the hell have we beaten that Switzerland team? Look at this Netherlands team. They're unbeatable at the moment. It was a clear, easy run to the final. So you can't give him too much credit for getting there. And I'm with LB. I'm not going to say he's the Brendan Rodgers, because I actually think Brendan Rodgers did a better job, if I'm honest. But I understand what he's talking about. He's obviously not able to get us across the line. And that's why he stepped down, because he knows that he can't. I think it's fair. I think he said, look, I've had 4 tournaments. I've not been able to get you across the line. It's time for somebody else to come in. Who do we bring in? I think it's difficult, because there will be the old school that want it to be an English manager. Well, there isn't many out there that are great. You know, a lot of people are talking about Potter being the favourite. Eddie Howe, will he leave Newcastle? Gary O'Neill being mentioned in the chat. I saw. Fair. He's one of the better ones. It's an English boss at the moment. Would that take us to the next level? I'd rather have them than Lampard, Gerrard or Carsley. That's for sure. I don't want those 3. I think Gerrard, Lampard or Carsley coming in.
If we get Gerrard, I'm Scottish. I'm not having it, mate. We're not getting Gerrard, bro. There's no chance.
Listen, there's no way I want them 3. Gerrard, Lampard or Carsley are not the 3 that I would want. So I think for me, you know, if you're going to go foreign, Thomas Tuchel's put his name in the hat today. That is a good CV. Somebody that I would like. I agree with what you're saying, Terry, in terms of winning. Jurgen Klopp, I think, is probably going to be staying away, isn't he? Jurgen Klopp's not going to come because he's left Liverpool to have a break and chill out. I don't think he'd come to England, or would he? He's turned down the USA job, apparently. Germany are sniffing around him. I don't know that he would come to England. But in terms of the actual tournament, just quickly on some of those players and why I blame Southgate more, it wasn't just the fact that you're looking at the Fodens, Bellinghams, Kanes, the list can go on, and thinking, what the hell's going on? This is not your club form. The positives that people gave him was the subs that he made. But even then, they were too late. I mean, don't get me wrong. Palmer was a brilliant sub. Watkins was a brilliant sub. Tony was a brilliant sub. You have to be bringing them on a lot earlier to change the game. You cannot be seeing Tony coming on with 30 seconds to go. And the reason that hasn't changed, bruv, is because he did the same with Jack Grealish against France when it was 2-2. 93rd minute, he's coming to warm up to come on. This is a problem with the manager for me. So I think it's good that he's gone. Yeah. I don't know where we go next, but I'm glad for it. I really am.
You are right against France. I mean, Rashford was having a great World Cup, and he gave Rashford 6 minutes against France.
Yep.
And the problem
Saka was our best player against France, and he took him off.
Yeah. So you know, and Sterling was having a poor tournament, and he brought him on, and it was. I
remember that.
He's made so many mistakes like that I think it's very, very difficult to ignore him. And look, I criticised Phil Foden this tournament because, barring the first 50 minutes in the semi-final, I thought he was poor. But I don't think he's a poor player. And I'm going to defend a lot of this crop of England players in the same way as I defended the previous golden generation, as the media phrased them. We had our best midfielder, Scholes, moved out of position, and Senghor and Eriksson, I don't want to be too harsh on him because he's obviously going through a lot right now, but openly admitted it in an interview. The reason he moved Scholes is because he was more talented and he wanted all 3 on the pitch, which was crazy. Then you had for years a Gerrard and Lampard debate, tried to make them work. They could never play together. One of them needed to be dropped. The midfielder we should have built the team around in that era was Michael Carrick, because he was the only midfielder we had that could do that kind of controlling role. But no, he wasn't a big enough superstar. And I hate that we've gone down the same path. I love Phil Foden. I love Jude Bellingham. But the fact that both started every single England game was an abomination. One of them had to be dropped to create the balance the team needs. Then you've got one of them coming on from the bench. It's, everybody gets very tribal. City fans will defend him, or anyone who hates Jude Bellingham will say, no, you've got to have this, you've got to do that. I'm not really precious about which one it is, but it's about the fact our team lacked balance in all 7 games that we played, and this was never addressed was absolutely crazy to me personally. And then it had a knock, and then once we went up against a team with the quality of Spain, that's when it had an even bigger knock-on effect on everybody in the team, because we know Kobe had a really poor game. He's probably the only one I didn't overly go in on because he is 19 years old. He's only essentially been a professional footballer 9 months in terms of playing at the top level.
He had a great tournament though, Terry.
He did. Again, I think because he had a good tournament, he gets a bit more leeway. You know, Gay, he had a really good tournament. You could forgive him if he had a poor game at some point. But I felt that everybody got affected by the poor tactics in the final game because the team we were against was just so much better. We got away with it because we played teams that, well, some of the teams we played in the earlier stages were more organized than we were, had better systems, but pound for pound just didn't have better players than we did. And as soon as we came up against a very good team, we were just absolutely outclassed, and we couldn't just get away with the firepower argument again. So you see boxers like it sometimes. They can punch their way through most fights, and then they go up against an Alexander Usyk, and it's like, Jesus Christ, no matter what I do, I just can't beat them. And it felt that way to me at the weekend. And we need a manager now that's just going to find, look, and that probably the biggest bugbear for me, I said it earlier, is that the one thing I always praise Southgate for in England is we sort of remove the cliques, we remove the egos, we remove it's all on Rooney, it's all on Beckham, it's all on Shearer nonsense we did for so many years, all on Gaza. We removed all of that, but this year it's all back. And that's what we need to focus on getting rid of again. And there's a few people in the comments that, Terry, it wasn't Jude's fault that Adidas made the advert. Listen, Jude's team, you're telling me Jude's team didn't have sign-off on it. They didn't know what was going on. I would have advised him this is not a good look, because it's now coming out through all the papers. A lot of the players were annoyed about it, frustrated. This stuff is all important. Absolutely. Could you imagine if Haaland did an advert for whoever he's sponsored by before the beginning of the season, and the message of it was, as long as I am here, City will win. Without me, they're doomed. That is not going to go down well in your dressing room. It just isn't. None of our clubs.
But also, Terry, the fans haven't really done themselves any favours, in my opinion, in this tournament either. We are a very passionate country, and I totally understand you've got love for your club. And I will always be club over country, 100%. I'd rather see Arsenal win the Champions League than England to win, right? I would. That's just me. Some people are different. But my God, some people take it far, man. Like throughout the whole of social media, it's actually been quite unenjoyable, the tournament in social media during this tournament. Like people saying, drop Saka for Palmer, get him gone. Saka's the reason we're still in the competition, you absolute clowns. What are you talking about? That Foden, he's just overrated. Absolutely dreadful player. What is everyone seeing in him? Are you joking? The guy's won a treble, for goodness sake. Jude Bellingham, shouldn't be the Ballon d'Or. He's just overrated. No, he's not. Like Harry Kane, washed, absolute wash. The geezer scored 35 goals for Bayern Munich. What are you talking about? It's because Arsenal fans will hate Kane, Manchester City fans will hate Saka, Chelsea fans want Palmer over Saka, Arsenal fans think Foden's overrated because he plays for City. It's embarrassing. Ain't they all supposed to be for the one club? I see Arsenal and Liverpool fans going, that Kobe Manu, we need to calm down. We need to calm down. No, we don't. He's a good player, man. He's 19 years old. He stepped up to the mark. Everyone's like, yeah, he's not actually that great. He wouldn't last at Man United or Liverpool. Yeah, he probably would. He's quite a good centre-half. Like, what is it all about? I don't get this. We have this tribalism, and it just goes way too over the top, in my opinion. And I think
people don't want to speak about the manager enough, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. People try to tell me, gaslighting me, gaslight me about this manager, try to tell me that, oh, well, he's done better than all the other managers that we've had recently. Yeah, that's because the recent managers we've had here is Roy Hodgson. Yeah, we had Steve McLaren. Like, come on, man. What are you trying to tell me? And they say, oh, yeah, but, Capello didn't do particularly well. Well, hang on a minute, yeah. Capello kind of got a had off in that tournament anyway, because this is the thing, yeah. If you want to do the facts, you got to do the facts properly. You actually do the Capello one, right? We should have topped the group that year, and we didn't top the group because we drew our first game, and then obviously we got the Germany farce that obviously happened. But anyway, it's by the by. The fact is, yes, this manager's done better than recent managers, but I'm not being funny here. Roy Hodgson and Steve McLaren are not exactly like top tier managers. So stop pretending like we've had these mint managers in the past and like this guy's better than them all. No, we've had shocking managers in the past. And this is the problem. And this is why Terry, mate, I love your optimism and your hope and the fact that you want Klopp. It's not happening. You know it's not happening as well.
No, I hear you, bruv. I hear.
And by the way, I agree. We should try. I don't think we're going to get him. I don't think he'd take the job personally, but we should at least try and persuade him to take the job. We ain't going to get someone like that. We're not going to get anyone, who's an elite level manager. Because the FA are not going to pay the money. You know what I mean? This is it. They're going to go for someone like Carsley, someone like Potter. They're going to get a yes man, someone like that. You know what I mean? Hopefully, the best hope, honestly, we've got is that Tuchel, like, literally, he's on the phone to the FA and saying, "Please hire me. We need him to be like desperate for the job." Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. We're going to end up with someone like that. The only good thing is, at least we're going to play attractive football. You know, under Graham Potter, if we get him, we probably won't win anything, but at least we'll play. At least we can actually watch the game and enjoy it
as well, right? People talk about the golden generation. They're right to say that it was a team that was brilliant that didn't win anything either. Did anyone look at the opposition in those days? Did anyone see who we were against? Like, when we lost to those teams, they were so much better than England. We were never favourites.
The standard of football is dead now, bro.
2004 Greece, that was like an anomaly, right? All the rest of it, we weren't better than France 98. We weren't better than France 2000. We certainly weren't better than Brazil 2002. We weren't better than any of the Spain teams that won the Euros in the 2010s on that Pep Guardiola Barcelona era. So when we finally get given into the tournaments and are one of the favourites, you would expect us to get across the line in one of the last four. And he hasn't been able to do that.
And that's the context. I saw a journalist put down where we came in the last four tournaments versus this four tournaments ago. But Southgate's a problem. And it's such a reductionist view, such an oversimplification. You can't ignore where other teams are. Now, I love that LBT said that football's dead in this era. That's why I don't think your treble's as valuable as Man United's. But but no, I get where you're coming from. But England are just at the top of the pile in terms of we probably have more talent in our squad than most other nations in the world. You look at, and we'll throw world teams into this because the manager's been at 2 World Cups. We have got a better squad for the first time in my lifetime than Brazil. We just have better players on paper. I would say that barring France, you could probably throw, you could make an argument about Argentina that are really good at the moment. What other squad where you go through the squad? By the way, plus players like Grealish and co that are not even at the Euros. On paper, we have probably a better squad than nearly every other nation in the world. That has never been the case in my lifetime. We have good squads. Sometimes you go, oh, maybe like top 4, top 5. But you would always put the Brazilians, the Argentinians, the Spanish invariably, definitely Germany, definitely France, the Italians up until recently. You'd put those 6 100% ahead of England all the time. And then there'd be a few that we'd be on par with. Now you do it and we're right up there. So the context is, if you give Fabio Capello this squad against the level of competition that's out there now, I bet he gets it. I would be confident to bet that he would get us to a final, at the very least, as an example. So I think it's really disingenuous to ignore the surroundings and who you're up against and who you're playing against. If that makes it, you can't just ignore these things in life. You know, it becomes a different competition to a certain degree.
Correct. And like I say, you know what I mean? You have to compare the fact that 2 of our recent managers were Steve McLaren and Roy Hodgson.
Awful.
So again, stop pretending like we've had these really good managers in the past and Southgate's just better than them all, because it's just not true. We've had 2 horrific managers, Steve McLaren and Roy Hodgson, mate. Yeah. And he's better than them. He is better than them. So, you know, at the end of the day, he's done a good job. But listen, it's about getting it across the line. And he's not done that in 4 attempts.
I agree.
I'm not being negative by saying it was time to go. I'm actually being super positive because I'm sitting here saying, I think this team can win. I think this squad is good enough to win. So therefore, I need a change. And at the end of the day, it becomes a little bit like the Arsenal situation. And you go, at what point do you say enough's enough? You know, this guy's had 4 tournaments to win a trophy. He's got close, granted. You know what I mean? He's got to 2 finals on that. But ultimately, he's not got across the line.
Nope.
And for me, when he gets to these big games as well, the manner of defeat in these games is for me is poor. You know, you look at the way we played against Spain, you know, constantly going long all the time. Italy in the final. At home, we go 1-0 up. And we don't have, one more shot on target in 120 minutes. That is embarrassing. The way we lost against Croatia, it's not just the fact that, you know, we're losing. It's the manner in which we lose. I don't think this manager could inspire the players to just get over the line. The evidence is there. He had 4 attempts to do it, couldn't do it. Now it's time to get someone who knows what they're doing and someone that's won. So my pick personally would obviously be Klopp. That's not going to happen. So I would then go for Tuchel. And you know what's mad as well? Yeah, I don't really like the guy, but I'd have Poch over Graham Potter. I really would. You know how much I don't like this guy, yeah, but I'd have Poch over Graham Potter and Lee Carsley. And then after that, then obviously you're looking at the English lads. But I don't really buy the whole we have to be English. Like, nah, I don't really care. I just want to win.
No,
mate.
yeah,
I mean,
we don't need to. We don't need an English manager. The coach of the ladies team is not English, and she's made us very successful. So that's nonsense. This here says best squad talent based on what the entitlement of these English fans, and don't say player value because we know that it's Premier League tax. More commercial doesn't mean more quality.
I don't get this sort of thing. There's a lot of people that seem to think that we've overgassed these English players. That, like, where's that come from? Like, how have we overgassed them? They have won major honours in the game. Kyle Walker, John Stones, and Phil Foden are treble winners, and they've won another Premier League title. Phil Foden's just got Player of the Year. Jude Bellingham is a Ballon d'Or contender because he won La Liga and the Champions League. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we trying to?
Harry Kane was just the top goal scorer in Germany, as an example. You know, we've seen Declan Rice absolutely smash it for Arsenal and West Ham for the last 2 or 3 seasons in midfield and in European competitions, as an example. And what I would say to you is this: we're not saying it's like the best talent that's ever been assembled at international level. We're comparing it to other nations, and this is it's hard to do because you have to do the exercise. But if you were to sit there and do combined squads, of course you'd have people from lots of different nations that would get in there. But there'd be a lot of England players in the squad or in the debates for it. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. There's lots of talent in this English team.
Agreed.
The way we set up is a problem. I don't think it's about entitlement because, as I've just said, I remember our golden generation that was brilliant on paper. I wouldn't have even put it in the top 6, top 7, sometimes top 8 squads at those tournaments because other teams were simply better. It's not entitlement that we feel. It's that we want to see the talent that we have utilized. By the way, go back to our squads in 2010, 2012, 2014. When we had players like Matthew Upton starting for us, none of us believed. None of us were sitting there going, oh, we've got one of the best squads at the tournament. We were like, look how weak our squad is. Look how thin our attacking line is when Danny Welbeck used to be our number 1 starting striker. So this is the thing. We cannot go back and look at the squad from 15 years ago. Maybe a bit less than that, 12 years ago. It's exponentially better. And we know other nations are not as good. Come on now. That's not English entitlement. I believe that to be as close to a fact as you could state.
It is a fact, man. It is a fact. And it's like, it's very strange. And, you know, again, if you look at this manager here, I always like this exercise, right? Have a look at the Premier League table from last year, the final table. If you go down the list of the table, at what position, 1 to 20, do you think that club's fans would want Gareth Southgate at their football club? Because I'm being deadly serious. I think you have to get down to like 15th, 16th. I'll be deadly serious.
And another question, LB. Another question, LB. How many other nations are going to try and hire Gareth Southgate now?
Yeah,
let's see. And that's the point. None of the top nations are going to get him, even though he's got to these finals. And that's always an indication. Said it before about player you rate. Oh, my guy going to be world class. 6 years later, he leaves Crystal Palace and he signs for a Bulgarian team. Bro, your opinion was wrong. You know, you have to look at who wants people. This here says Foden is good, obviously, but he doesn't perform for England. He lost possession more than any. Yeah, I think he lost possession more than any other player via bad touches, which is different from losing possession. Other than has zero output outside of City. I mean, he had a bad tournament, Foden, but do you think that's more to do with the position the manager's playing him in, LB?
Yeah, I just think it was a mix of just bad things. You know what I mean? First of all, I don't think he can play with Kane. Now, whether you drop Foden or you drop Kane, I don't think he can play with. I think you need a runner. I think if Foden's in there, you need a runner. You need players to make runs in behind the defense. And I'm sorry, Kane just stood there for 90 minutes every game and didn't do anything, right? So he just stood there. I don't think it helps not having a left winger, because then every time he picks up the ball, he had no one on that left. It should have been Anthony Gordon playing on that left-hand side, in my opinion. A balanced team. And I think we've got a bit of an issue here with Jude Bellingham and Foden. I don't think they can both play in that. I mean, Jude Bellingham's not a 10. He's not a number 10. He'll never be a number 10. For me, he's a box-to-box 8, yeah? Someone that can pick up the ball deep and run with it, yeah, and drive forward with it. He should not be on the edge of the penalty area, try to slip strikers in, yeah? He's not that guy for me. So I think he's misprofiled in this team. So I just think it's a mix. But yeah, he didn't play well. And I think, obviously, if he doesn't play well under the next manager, then I think that's when there'll be serious questions about Phil Foden in the international team. But for me, I just think there's too much going on, man. There's too much going on there that, yeah, it's just a mess, bro. It's just a mess.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. What can you think of that is an outsider of the box for manager? And did any of you know who the Spanish manager is? Just want the best guy to play attacking football. Yeah, do you know what I think it is? And correct me if I'm wrong, LB, because we both said we want like winning managers. I feel like Spain's in a different space mentality-wise. In the last 27 finals, internationally or domestically, that have involved the Spanish club or the Spanish nation, they've won 27 out of 27. As a nation, they are winners. Mm-hmm. England need a manager to help instill a winning mentality. So I feel that that's why there's a fundamental difference between knowing who the manager is. You have to look at scenarios. If English teams are dominating in Europe and England as a nation had won 3 or 4 trophies in the last decade or two, you probably could look at a Lee Carsley that's been part of that setup behind the scenes and has come through with it and already has that mentality instilled into him, because English football has that mentality. We need to inject it, in my personal opinion. An outsider for the job, but Klopp's probably the guy I'm thinking of, because that's what we need to be looking at as an outsider, a world-class manager that we don't expect that the FA go for, but it isn't going to be that. It's going to be Potter or Howe, Carsley. It could be a Tuchel. We'll see. Viewers, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace for us. And we are going to get to some of the transfer stories that are going on, but I wanted to start talk about City, actually. So we've seen the news that I haven't seen whether it's been officially turned down, but the newspaper said that you would turn this 30-odd million bid for Ederson down. But it does appear that the Saudi teams are going to come back in for him. It looks like, they're going to come in for KDB as well. Any slight concerns from yourself? I mean, no transfers as of yet for Man City, unless I've missed it. But a number of your sort of stars being looked at for exits. Julian Alvarez refusing a new deal, looking like he might leave. What's the latest goings on with City, and how do you see it from a City perspective, mate?
Yeah, man. So Savio's supposed to be announced tomorrow. Obviously, that was a deal that's been done for a while, but it's official. It's meant to go through officially tomorrow, which is good news. The Ederson deal, yeah, so 25 million quid, which I think is an absolute joke of a price. I can't believe that was even, like, I don't know what they're doing there. You know what I mean? That is a joke. 31-year-old goalkeeper, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and you're bidding 25 million. That is. I mean, we sold James Trafford to Burnley for 20 million last year. Guy's never even played a Premier League game. So yeah, that got rejected. It depends on what sources. Some of the sources are saying it's over. Al Nassr are not willing to go higher than that, so they've pulled out of the deal. A couple of other people are saying, well, they're still thinking about it and that. So I think he's going to stay. Plus, City were moving mad on the social media. This depends on how much like you read into this, yeah. But last night, within 25 minutes, yeah, of a journalist coming out saying, I think it was Fabrizio coming out saying the 25 million pound bid has gone in from Al Nassr. Within 25 minutes, City posted 2 tweets, both about Ederson, and I'm like, that's a little bit weird. I think he'll stay personally. Kevin De Bruyne, I think he'll stay as well. I think he'll leave next year. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird, man. The City news is there is no news, man. You know, I'm out here trying to do the content on the channel, and I'm like, bro, there's nothing to talk about right now. But I think Ederson will stay. I think Kevin De Bruyne will stay. We've obviously got Savio through the door. That's exciting. And then we just need a DM, man. We just need a DM. And Sam Lee today at The Athletic, he's reporting that City are still in for Bruno at Newcastle. But I don't know how that deal gets done. I mean, he had a release clause of 100 million quid. Like, why don't we just accept it and pay it if we wanted him? Like, what do you think they're going to accept? 70? I don't see it, man. I don't know. So yeah, bit strange. Some City fans getting a little concerned because we do need that DM. Obviously, if Rodri gets injured, like we're kind of screwed. I can't lie. So we need a DM. Need to get it through the door. But at the moment, all quiet, mate. All quiet.
I get quite a lot of stick from. Sorry. Rookie mistake. I get a lot of stick from City fans and Liverpool fans. I go, Terry, you're never speaking about our transfer rumours. But I mean, you've just said it. You're a City fan. I look for them, and barring this Edison news, and we know about Savio coming in, but I feel like I don't even feel like that's a summer deal. That got done months ago. It's sort of like I don't see anything going on. And listen, we all know that the Copa America and the Euro slowed down the transfer market, but the Premier League is 4 weeks away, or 4.5 weeks. Friday, 4 weeks on Friday, Man United kick it off. And although the transfer window will be open for another 3 or 4 weeks after that, it doesn't feel like there's that much time now for everybody. And barring Man United, who we'll move on to, and Chelsea, nobody else. Arsenal were very, very similar. The Calafiori deal's gone very quiet. There's just nothing substantial. There's no talk of things you're actually working on, players you're talking to. I'm just, again, I'm not even trying to fearmonger because City is such a well-run club, got such a brilliant squad. But it's almost feels like you've got to start motoring soon, surely.
Well, I imagine, and maybe Arsenal are in this position, that both clubs are looking at the squads and going, there's not a great deal that needs to be done. Now, I think when it comes to Arsenal, given the fact that they've not won the league yet, they're not won it in 2 years, there probably is more to do there than there is at City. But they don't need like a revolution at the football club. They just need to add a few players here and there. City, we need one player. We need a DM. That's it. That's all we need. We've got Savio through the door. We get a DM, and I'm chilling. In an ideal world, I'd like a fullback. We've not had a left back at my football club for a decade. Like that would be nice. But like, I'd get me a DM, and I'm chilling. I look at Arsenal, and I think, you know, there's some big decisions at Arsenal, isn't there? You know what I mean, in terms of some of the players. You know, striker. You know, you probably need another winger, maybe another defender, another midfielder. I don't know. You're trying to get rid of some players. I've seen the Smith Rowe news as well. So I imagine both clubs are just sitting there going, we don't need to do too much. So they're just biding their time and maybe looking for the right deal. Me personally, I'd rather just get the deal done. Like, this is what I'm saying. If we could have got Bruno for 100 mil release clause, why didn't we just pay it? Well, because we sat there and went, it's not worth 100 mil. Yeah, but what you're going to pay? You're going to pay 80 million anyway, aren't you? Let's be honest. Newcastle are not selling this guy for anything less than 80 million in today's market, right? So, but you just pay the extra 20 mil, yeah, and like, you've got him then. You're just chilling. You can forget about your transfers then, and you can just go into the preseason and you're all sorted. And people will be like, you can't just be throwing out 20 million here and there. Yeah, you don't necessarily pay it all off in one anyway. Like, you negotiate with Newcastle about the payment structure, how long that's paid across. You know, you're not going to transfer him 100 mil. That's very unlikely. So for me, I just think we should have got the deal done. Kimmich is there. Okay, you don't want to spend 80 million. You don't want to spend 100 million. Go get Kimmich then. Kimmich is available 40 million. You know what I mean? But then I'm being told he's too old. He's 29. He's got another 3 or 4 years left. It'll be easy. So there are deals to be done. Yeah, I'm not having this, there's no players available. He's there. Varella's there. Yeah. So there are players that need to be done. I don't know. I don't know what City's strategy is right now on the DM situation. It's because we've got to get someone. Like, we can't go into this season again with just Rodri. Like,
you can't. He needs game and rest, and you can't. We'll put aside all the nonsense at the moment because that's going to resolve itself off the pitch. On field and day-to-day running, City have been impeccably well run for a long time. Always said it. Will always stand by it. It seems weird that you could go into the season in a predicament of, if Rodri gets hurt, we're in trouble. That isn't the sign of a club that's well run, where you're an injury away from potential disaster. And that's why I can't fathom. But you're normally very quick at getting deals done. I wouldn't say you're openly transparent like there's always news, but it's not quiet around City normally. There's normally things to speak about. It does feel abnormally quiet. It does, and I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to know why and what comes in through the door. But viewers, we'd love to get your thoughts, feelings on that. Staying in Manchester, the news today, according to some French outlets, is that Man United are now winning the race to sign Lenny Yoro. We heard earlier on today from Ornstein that Man United are working on both, but they're prioritizing Lenny Yoro because the lit's easy to get done. There's now some early reports in France that he is now discussing personal terms with Man United and he's open to joining, and we've moved ahead of Real Madrid. Obviously, our £40 million bid for the player has been accepted. Madrid have only offered 25 million. Thoughts on that deal, Potsy? Because, you know, we do need to bolster the back line. The lit is essentially a done deal if we want it, but we sort of haven't hit the go button. We're working on this young man first. How good a signing do you think he could be for Man United?
Superb, mate. Superb. Very, very good centre-back that's highly rated, that's looking like he's probably going to be looked at by world teams all over the world. I think Real Madrid looking at him says it already, doesn't it? You know, there's no secret that Real Madrid are looking and sniffing around Saliba, and they're obviously looking at this young kid as well. I don't watch him every week, Tel. All I can go by is what everybody talks about, and this could be a fantastic signing for you. What I like about this, as far as Manchester United are concerned, and if I was a Manchester United fan, is that you haven't mucked around. You've just gone and put your bid in. You're not sniffing around him. You're not looking at Real Madrid thinking, right, let's see what Real Madrid do. You're just going ahead, trying to get ahead. And it looks like that you might have the green light for this now. Now, he might still have his heart set on Real Madrid, Lenny Yoro. I don't know him. I've no idea how serious it is about his heart being set on Real Madrid. They were definitely favourites before Manchester United come in. But was that because Manchester United didn't come in? Now, what I would say for Lenny Yoro is he's a young kid at 18 that's got two of the biggest clubs in world football after him. That's got to be a good sign. Manchester United aren't just after him, because obviously you've looked at Jared Branthwaite, you've looked at De Ligt. Today you're linked with Jonathan Tah. You were sniffing around Mark Guehi a few days ago. You definitely need a couple of centre-backs by the looks of things. So I think for me, Lenny Yoro coming to Manchester United would be a good signing. I think you've done the right thing by putting in the £40 million bid. Real Madrid have now got to look at that and go, well, if we want this guy, we've got to get a bid accepted by Lille, because we're going to get it rejected now unless we go and match Manchester United's bid. So you've basically said, you want this kid, right? So do we. See if you can match our bid, and let's see where he really wants to go. And until Real Madrid match your bid or better your bid, Lenny Yoro, I think, is going to go to Man United. And why wouldn't he? Like, people say, why would he chose that? Well, it's not like he's choosing between Real Madrid and, no disrespect, West Ham here. He's picking between two of the biggest clubs in world.
You hate West Ham so much.
Big up Lawless, you know. Hope you're well, bruv.
All right,
let me be kind. To slide a little dig in there.
Let me be kind. Who else is there? Everton. That'll do. So for me, you've got a great chance of getting him, bruv. You really have. And I just think you need to now hope that Real Madrid don't go in, because then he will then be. It's a different knocking, isn't it, at Real Madrid? You know, it really is.
Yeah, look, if Real Madrid match our bid or get a bid accepted,
then he'll go to Real Madrid.
I'm very very
100% agree with that.
Very, very aware of it. I'm loving the comments that are coming through. So you see things like, sounds like Madrid are not interested. He can sign a pre-agreement. It's never going to happen. Carl here, who's an Arsenal fan, he may never have another chance to go to Madrid. I hope he isn't persuaded by agents. As if at 18, this is the last chance he's going to get to play for Real Madrid. If he's as good as everybody's saying that he is, right? That's just hopium from people that Man United don't sign him. Because every single year for a decade, people have said Man United can't sign talent. So one thing we have done, we just haven't ever signed it with a good structure around us. I'd love this signing. I think it represents some really good business for us. But what I'm enjoying is the fact that if it doesn't happen, and I'm still yet to be convinced we're the number one favourites for him, although the reports have come out, I'm not sort of counting my chickens just yet, because Madrid are involved. But if it doesn't happen, then there's the likes of De Ligt, there's the likes of Branthwaite. We looked at Tah, there's Guehi. We're not just Man United for the best part of 11 years. Have worked on a deal like Lenny Yoro, put all our energy into it, and it hasn't happened for one reason or another. And then they go, right, we've got 3 weeks to the window shuts. We've done no groundwork on any other players. Let's start now. You end up overpaying. You end up paying ridiculous salaries. And invariably, we've signed people that we shouldn't have got. So we've wasted money, overspent on salary, and we've ended up bloating the squad with a lack of quality. Well, what I'm liking is that it sounds as though we've got a plan of action and we're working on numerous deals at the same time. And I've seen the Cities, I've seen the Liverpools all do this impeccably well in the last decade. And I've watched on with envy as my club piss farted about all summer. So I'm more impressed at the way we're operating. Not that we're not doing anything groundbreaking. We're not doing anything that other top clubs haven't done, but we're just doing what other top clubs do. So I quite like it. And LB, we haven't actually spoke much this summer. I know you've been really busy moving house. What have you felt about Man United's approach so far to this window?
You're moving like a proper football club again. I said it, man. When this guy came in, yeah, Jim Radcliffe and that, I called it straight away, man. I said, I think you're going to start yourselves out. You know what I mean? Now, there'll be mistakes. There'll still be some ups and downs. But in my opinion, like, just listening to the guy, you could just tell he knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, as much as it pains me to say it, I do think you're probably moving in the right direction. Now, as we've discussed many times, fortunately for me and unfortunately for you, your club has been run so badly over the last decade or so that it's going to take more than 1 or 2 windows to sort this mess out. And you know, I don't see you, in my opinion, challenging for the title for at least another 2 to 3 years. But you can clearly see, yeah, unless you got your eyes closed, that United are starting to move like a proper club. You know what I mean? Starting to make signings that you go, oh yeah, that's actually a decent signing. You know, starting to build a squad and that. So the big question mark for me is still around the manager. I'm going to be real with you, yeah, because I still think this manager's a fraud. You know what I mean? So that's the big one for me. And obviously they've decided to stay with him. You know, let's see how it gets on this season. But it don't really matter in terms of like the short term. You've got that question to answer about the manager, but in the medium to long term, I think United, unfortunately, are going to start making the right moves, because I just think, you know, I just knew as soon as he come in, yeah, this guy, and started appointing all these people in the positions, I was like, this guy's switched on. You know what I mean? He's not like the Bowley fella at Chelsea, right, who went in and thought, oh, I'm going to do everything. You know, I know what I'm doing. Me, I'm the big I am, and that, and started. You know, he was on TV every day, you know what I mean, speaking a load of nonsense, waffling, starting to tell us about how he's doing all this data, AI stuff with his. And he's like, what are you doing, mate? You know, I don't know what you're doing. This guy came in and went, I'm appointing him, I'm putting him in charge, They're going to run the football club. And I thought, you know what? He knows what he's doing, man. So, yeah, like I said, I still think it's going to be a couple of years until you're back fighting for a league, but I do think that you're probably on the upwards trajectory now. It's just a manager's thing you've got to overcome. Yeah, we don't truly know if that's still the right guy, you know.
No, I get that. It's a fair challenge. Even watching the message that Sir Jim sent to Shaw at the weekend, good luck, please don't pull your hamstring again. I saw some Man United fans say it really isn't a joke, you know, your boss making a joke like that. And I thought, no, I think in the real world with normal people, that's a completely acceptable joke to make. I know we live in a world now where you get a lot of hypersensitive employees who can't take jokes. Banter's not allowed. Jokes are banned. You go to, you know, you'll be sent to Azkaban if you laugh at something. But I think it just shows the human side to him. One of the biggest complaints of the Glazers is that they were never vocal, never around, had no relationship with anybody at the club. You then suddenly have someone that's building relationships. He clearly has built up a rapport with these players to say it. Because I think if he hadn't met Shaw, hadn't met the players, wasn't involved, I don't think he says that. Because you'd end up saying something. If you're going to make a joke like that, you've kind of got to know people. And I think that he obviously does. And it's good signs. But my message to Man United fans is it's a good start. But we actually have to keep the pressure on the new owners and everybody to keep moving in this direction. It's funny because the typical haters in the comment section, where some people saying, "Oh, you know, you overpaying for players, Terry. Why are you celebrating? Overpaying for what? We just put Xerxes on £56,000 a year. Tell me the last time we signed a player, 23 years of age, to come in to be one of our main attackers and gave him 56,000 a week in salary. Now, to all of us, that's a lot of money. I'd love it, but I'll make this claim with with such an air of confidence. If Woodward was doing that deal, he'd be on 180, 200 grand a week. And I think that sometimes it's nice to see that we're going, do you know what? Put you on 56. There's some bonuses in there. You want to get to 100, 150? Perform and score goals. The amount of players that joined Man United, and essentially they were given the keys to the city the day they arrived. 250 grand a week. Doesn't even matter if you don't score or perform. 5-year deal. You're the star. Bloated approach. And I just, all these little nuances I like. This is an interesting comment. I want to get your opinion on this, boys. It says, why are Man United begging Yoro to join? Where is their pride? That's embarrassing fans and fostering a weak mentality. He says, why overpay? I mean, we're not overpaying for him, but I've seen a lot of rivals say that Man United are embarrassing the football club by trying to convince Lenny Yoro to join them and not Real Madrid.
No, that doesn't make any sense for me. Trying to have ambition to get your best players at the club is a madness to believe that is the wrong mentality to have. Now, don't get me wrong, he might have his heart set on Real Madrid, and if the two clubs come knocking that have been accepted by, he's going to go Real Madrid. We've said that earlier, right? I think everyone can understand that he's going to go to Real Madrid if they come knocking. But for Manchester United to put themselves and go for that ambition, I think is absolutely what you should be doing. Manchester United need to get there. There's no point Manchester United going, right, we're not that club anymore. Let's try and get mediocre players, try and scrape into the top 4, and then we'll have another pop it in next time. They've got to go and do it now. So that's why they're going for the De Ligts and they're going for the Lenny Yoros. They're being linked with Ugarte. I think it's the right thing to do. I think the Joshua Zirkzee one, I think the jury's still out. I've no idea what the player's like. I don't know if that's something you'll look at and go, wow, or you'll look at like Foden and go, not still sure, but looks okay. I don't know. But to say that it's embarrassing, I don't really get that. And I'm an Arsenal fan. I'd love for Man United to be embarrassing. And they have been for the best part of, since Fergie's gone at times. But let's be real, the way they're moving at the moment, they're the only team at the moment that you can talk about in the transfer market because they're going around. And what I like about it, and I would like about it if I was a Man United fan, is you're not just spending all your time on Lenny Yoro here. You're going for 2 or 3 other options. So you know that you've got a plan A, plan B, plan C. You're going to get a couple of centre-backs this window. You're going to, because you need a couple of centre-backs. Let's be real, with Maguire and Evans and Lindelof all potentially leaving. You're going to have to, and Varane going, you're going to have to go and get a couple of centre-halves in. So I think that's where it is, man. I think that's where it is. And they've been laughable for the last few. So let's see what they're like. Let's see what they're like now in the transfer window. Only on weekends, don't tell him.
I know. I shouldn't reveal that we do that. It's so funny. Like it's so funny. Like, you know, we've been doing the show together for about 7-8 months now, boys, and we've all criticised Man United a lot on here when it's been right. Suddenly, Man United get a little bit of praise for just they're operating well. And some people can't handle it online. It's like, I can't believe it. Terry must be paying them. You're all my shrills. You're being paid by me to speak nicely about Man United. It's crazy that trying to convince talent to join your club is now embarrassing. Do you know what's really funny about it as well? This just shows how bad PR has been for football. That clubs and via the media have, and some of the tier 1 journalists who everybody hangs on, have made people convinced that, because every time a player signs for a club, you very typically speaking, you get that kind of that plethora of stories that says the player only wanted X club. So right, their biggest local or the biggest national rival was also interested, but they said no to them for them. But the same story for nearly every player at every club. So fans have now almost been sort of had their heads turned into this notion of, well, I only want to sign a player that only wants to play for my club. But you do realize these are professional football players. They don't think like fans. They don't behave like fans. And this is not a dig at City, but do we really think half these City players grew up as kids wanting to play for City before they were at the top peak of their powers? Even Arsenal, who have been a bigger club than City in terms of historically, do you think some of these players now in the Arsenal team, even 5 years ago, would have seen Arsenal as their number 1 destination? No, but that's not how professional football even works. And it goes the other way as well. Jurgen Klopp didn't want Mo Salah and Mane. Did that mean they're not, that the club shouldn't have bought them because the manager didn't really want them? It's weird to me. It's honestly weird to me that we've sort of seen fans sort of be indoctrinated to believe that unless a player publicly states he only wants my club, I don't want him. It's weird. Very weird behavior, personally. But that's just me. Yeah, but I hope it works out, and we'll see whether this story transpires and moves further forward. I know you've got to shoot pretty soon, LB. Potsy and I'll be staying on, but I wanted to ask you about Chelsea. They've made a financial offer for Victor Osimhen. There's talk that they could pounce for Nico Williams. What have you made of their summer so far? I mean, I've seen a lot of Chelsea fans online excited. Seen a lot of people sharing the training videos of what Maresca's doing, and that they're moving in the right direction. What's sort of your take been over the last few weeks, LB?
Well, they spent 1.5 billion so far under this owner, yeah, in what, 2 years? So why not make it 2 billion? You know what I mean? That's the way I see it. They need a striker. The guy they've got at the moment ain't good enough. Victor Osimhen's there. He's available if you pay the money. Go get him. Nico Williams. You know, you got Mudryk. You got Sterling. You got Madueke, who Don's telling everyone is the best thing since sliced bread. So yeah, why not add another one into the mix, man? I just think they're a funny football club nowadays, man. They used to be serious under Roman. Yeah, they used to move serious, and now I don't really get it. I don't really get the strategy, to be honest with you. They do need a striker, so I'll give them that one. Osimhen is available there as well, but I don't really. So what? They're giving up on Mudryk then? After a year, is that it? We're done there.
Well, if you go for Nico Williams, the answer is simply yes, because Nico Williams looks excellent. If they go for him, yep. If they go for Osimhen, that means Jackson isn't going to be the main guy. But I think they have to do this, though, LB. As much as they have spent money and potentially wasted it, if you end up with a summer where your four main signings are Tosin, Dewsbury Hall, Osimhen, and Nico Williams, that's a really good summer, isn't it?
No, they need a striker. 100% they need a striker, right? But they knew they needed a striker before they signed the lad that they've got for last year. You know what I mean? I just think that like the winger situation is a little strange, because to give up on Mudryk that early is pretty mad in my opinion. But I just think if they got Osimhen, I don't really think they need to go and get Nico Williams. Nico Williams is clearly better than Mudryk. Yeah, he's clearly better than him, but like to give up on him that quickly is a bit of a madness. So yeah, we'll see if they get that deal across the line. They definitely need a striker, man, because again, I was being told by Chelsea fans last year that they were playing good football. We just don't have a striker. We don't have a striker, which might have been true in some of the games. I think they overdid it a little bit and overhyped that. So if they get Osimhen, then we'll see in it. But I don't know, man. I just feel like it's just a chaotic football club. It's just a mad chaotic football club. Another manager through the door. Yeah, this owner has wasted so much money, yeah, for very little reward. Still not in the Champions League. They've got this manager who's super high risk manager. Let's see how they get on, man. But just wild, isn't it? It's just a wild football club. Like I can't believe like they're not in the Champions League and they spent 1.5 billion quid. Like it's just insane, really.
Yeah, I can't disagree with much what LB said. People know my thoughts on this ownership and Chelsea. I think it's been an absolute shambles. And I think the standards have completely dropped at Chelsea, in my opinion. They're not the club that they were under Roman. I don't expect that they'll get there under this ownership. That's just my opinion. And I'm happy to be proven wrong. If people believe that they're going to go right to the top under Enzo Maresca with signings like Dewsbury Hall, then go for it. I actually think when everybody's fit, Chelsea have actually got an all right team. If they had a goalkeeper, they had a centre-back, they had a left winger, and they had a striker, I think most people will look at that 11 and go, yeah, that's definitely good enough to be in the top four. But I think what they have to stop doing is buying loads of young players, because you are going to need to have some now players sooner or later. So Osimhen would be a good signing because he's a now player. If they went and bought Diogo Costa in goal, that's a now goalkeeper that's one of the best in the world right now, in my opinion. If they went and got a left winger like Nico Williams, then you can start looking at Chelsea and go, okay, now they've got a younger squad that can be built around. You've got a goal scorer. You've got a goalkeeper that would get into most teams. You've got a left winger that everyone's talking about lighting up the Euros. Chelsea have still got Lavia. They've still got Enzo. They've still got Caicedo. Obviously, defensively, if they could get in actual centre-back partnership together that looks to be solid, then fair play. Cucurella has been good for a few months. I've got Malo Gusto, who I rate if Reece James stays fit, which is a massive, massive question mark and has been for the last 18 months to 2 years. They've got one of the best right-backs in the league, in my opinion. Cole Palmer, he's there. People have not... Nkunku, he's coming back. So really, you look at it and think fair play. But I still don't have any positive things to say about this ownership yet, because I think it's been a mess, if I'm honest with you, to spend that much money and to be where Chelsea are and to be flirting around, let's be real, with the best part of 2 seasons. They've been in the bottom half of the table for more than half of it, or most of it, if I'm honest. And then Poch for the last few games goes boom, 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 win. Right now we're finally playing. And they go, actually, let's get rid of you now and bring in the championship winning manager and then get him to bring the championship star boy with him. That to me is not where you go to want to try and catch up with Man City and Arsenal. But a lot of the Chelsea fans will tell you different, that they're really happy and that it's, going to work. So make sure it does. If you're a Chelsea fan, I hope for your sake that it does. But I just don't rate the ownership from what I've seen so far, man.
No, I totally listen. I get where you boys are coming from. For me, I look at the Osimhen deal. I look at the potential of Williams or someone of that quality. If they don't get at least 2 players of that ilk this summer with what they've already done, and it's just more unknown youngsters, I think they're doing Maresca a disservice. I don't know how good or bad he's going to be, and it's lots of people are writing in the quote from Don earlier on this week. Don did say you will learn about Maresca. That's like Don's new thing. But where I sort of agree with,
how much is football is what Don watched of this guy?
I don't know. I think
that's the thing. Like, I love Don, but what he was not on Don's radar. I spoke to Don. He did not want this manager. So why are we hearing now we will learn about Maresca from Don when Don did not have him on his list of managers he wanted? What's going on here?
Yeah, but this is what football fans do, though, isn't it? Football fans try and just spin the positive. Well, most fans try and spin the positive. I think it with United, when a lot of United fans were 10 Hag out, as soon as a guy signs a new contract, let's back him, let's get behind him. Well, if you don't think he's good enough, why are you now all of a sudden backing him? It's the same with Maresca. Most Chelsea fans, probably over 90%, wouldn't have wanted Maresca, right? They just wouldn't have. And then as soon as he's signed, obviously they're going to spin a positive. We'll have to see, man. Obviously, he's done very well with Leicester. He plays that possession style football. Maybe he's good with the kids. That's what they told me about Poch, man. They said, "Oh yeah, but LB is good with the kids."
But that's also. So this is the thing. Listen, I get where you're coming from, boys. I'm very open minded about Maresca because I don't know enough about him.
Yeah, same.
But the club have got to set him up to be successful. And if Tosin and Dewsbury Hall are as good as it gets, they're the best signings they make outside of the youngsters. And the thing with lots of youngsters is you can't develop them all at the same time anyway. There is no precedent. There is no example that we can draw from of any top club in Europe, in a top league, predominantly having kids and developing them all into brilliant players and becoming a world-class team. There's no example of that happening without a core experience spine that's already through the team. So if they don't go and get Osimhen's, Nico Williams's, they are putting even more pressure on Maresca because you're trying to make Maresca get consistency from young players who are typically inconsistent. It's part of being a young player is you're inconsistent. So that you need to get someone that can score 30, 35 goals in all comps. Yes, I know Nico Williams is young, but he's an outlier in the young space where he's already got a lot of experience. The guy just absolutely balled out for an international tournament. There's a little difference between Yamal's another one. Yes, he's 16, but he's a different level of 16-year-old. Most players sort of in that sort of 17, 18 to 21, 22-year-old mark are still very fresh and inconsistent and up and down. Majority of footballers sit in that space. And I think they've got to help their manager by doing that. Just some breaking news while we're talking. Marseille have reached personal term agreements with Mason Greenwood to sign for them. Work still to be done, but he's going to travel and do his medical very soon. So it looks like Marseille will be buying Mason Greenwood from Manchester United this summer. David Ornstein has just dropped that update in the last few minutes, along with bids have been rejected by Man United from Galatasaray for Scott McTominay. But Mason Greenwood will leave on a permanent deal. And I'm not going to lie, I'm very happy to see that whole situation end.
Yeah. That needed to happen, man. It was never going to work out at United after that. So yeah, it needed to happen, but it's what, isn't it?
I agree.
I know, mate. I know you've got to shoot, LB, because I know you've got to go pick up the missus.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming on, mate. I'm sure we'll see you next week.
It's good to be back, man. Big up the chat as always, man. See you later.
Absolutely. Cheers, mate. Bye. LB shooting off there. Myself and Potsy will be with you for a little while longer. I did want to ask you about Arsenal as well. We've mentioned Nico Williams. Your name has been linked to him in terms of, and the reports are all sort of like, if Arsenal go for a winger, if Arsenal go for an attacker, he's top of the list. But is that? I'm also seeing reports of Arsenal being sort of speaking about like Jorginho and Trossard kind of signing, slightly older, slightly more experienced players to just bolster the strength of the squad. Like, what are you hearing around Arsenal? And barring Calafiori, which just looks like Bologna have got to sign a replacement, you'll get him. Outside of that deal, what else is credible right now from an Arsenal perspective? Nico Williams. There's obviously talk about Merino from Real Sociedad. What's the latest as far as you're aware?
Yeah, well, at the moment, there's a lot of rumours of Arsenal trying to sort out 3 departments: the goalkeeping department, the centre back position, and the left back position, which will be Calafiori, and midfield. And I think with midfield, Arsenal fans are hoping to see a big name. So when we get linked with Mikel Merino, it doesn't really fill us with a hell of a lot of confidence. Having said that, I do quite like the player. From what I've seen, what I hear good things. I hear that he's a very reliable player, very consistent player. He's got a lot of attributes that I think would suit us. He's definitely more of an 8, which I think we need, other than Declan Rice. He's really the only one we've got, Declan Rice, in that position. So we haven't really got another midfielder that can do what he can do. I think Granit Xhaka has kind of been, some people say missed, some people say haven't been replaced. I think when we look at that, he can come in and be that guy that we potentially missed in Granit Xhaka. So I see some attributes similar there. I think with the Calafiori deal, I think they want closer to 50. We want closer to 40. I think that will get done. It's just a matter of time. The goalkeeping situation is an interesting one, Sel, because David Raya is going to be the number 1. Aaron Ramsdale is going to look to be sold. But we don't know how much we're going to get for Aaron Ramsdale and what clubs are going to come in for him. Now, the 2 goalkeepers that we are looking at, Tommy Setford is being signed from Ajax, we believe, for around about £1 million. He's going to come in as an 18-year-old as the 3rd choice goalkeeper, we believe. And then there is rumours that we're going to get a 2nd choice goalkeeper. And the one that we are looking at is Juan Garcia over at Espanyol. So it looks like Arteta's reverting back to not having 2 number 1 goalkeepers. He's going to go for Raya as the one, and then obviously the backup goalkeeper there. And Setford will come in as the homegrown player that will just be ticked off as a Champions League homegrown player and sit and learn and develop as an 18-year-old. So that'll be the goalkeeping department. Calafiori, I don't believe there'll be anyone else that we add to that defensive department. Mikel Merino is the one that we're highly rated to get and probably favourites to get. But after that, Terry, we're linked with players. And obviously it's Eze, Pedro Neto, linked with Kimmich, linked again with Bruno Guimaraes yesterday, links with Nico Williams, the Athletic reporting that Arteta would have him as the number 1 if he is willing to come to Arsenal, but there are rumours he wants Barcelona. £49 million release clause. It wouldn't be a problem money-wise to come to Arsenal, but he's going to want to come to Arsenal. And it looks like he's got his heart set and staying in Spain and going to Barcelona. The striker situation has gone very quiet. It doesn't look like we're interested in Osimhen anymore. It doesn't look like we want Ivan Toney. It doesn't look like we're in for a Dovbyk or a Boniface or somebody like that. And Victor Gyökeres was the one that we were linked closely with, but that's kind of gone quiet now as well. So I do kind of have a little bit of a back of my mind worry that we might not get a centre forward this summer. I really believe that could be a possibility, and Arsenal fans might not want to hear that, but it actually could be that we do not get a striker and we go for a wide player. Now, whether that wide player is going to be a Nico Williams or an Eze or Pedro Neto, I still don't know. We're linked with quite a lot of them. But Arsenal, I think, will not have the summer unless it's a shock that we go, wow, that's the Declan Rice coming in. I don't think we'll have that. I think we're probably going to have more of a similar window to the summer we had previously, where we signed Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko, where most of our rivals went, oh, they're quite good signings, but didn't go, wow, Arsenal are now ready for the title. I think we're going to kind of get that, if I'm honest with you. And listen, LB's kind of right in what he said earlier about Arsenal don't need a revolution and need like 7 or 8 top players. But I kind of agree and disagree. I kind of feel like we can't stand still here. We do need to look at what might happen in the worst case scenario, that we don't have a striker again. Saka gets an injury. Saliba gets an injury. Who's to cover for Declan Rice? If these players were to get knocks, at the moment, we haven't got players to cover for them. So if we're going to sell Eddie Nketiah, we need to upgrade on him. Reece Nelson needs upgrading on. If Smith Rowe's going to go, we can't just not buy anybody there. We're going to need to get somebody that is the equivalent of Smith Rowe. If Saliba was to get a knock, what do? Does Ben White or Tomiyasu or Timber come in? Or do we need a right-sided centre-back as well as Calafiori? So I think there's definitely quite a lot of potential for Arsenal there. We've got to decide what we do with Declan Rice, and I don't mean what we do with his future. I mean where he plays, 6 or an 8. Where is he going to be? I think Arteta wants him to be in the 8. So does that mean we have to go and get a Kimmich or a Bruno to come and play in the 6, or do we play him in the 6 and then go and buy an 8? And at the moment, Mikel Merino is going to be that guy. So I believe personally that we've got a good opportunity for us to go and get some players in. But I don't think we're going to see any £105 million Declan Rices. But listen, this is Arsenal. They keep their cards close to their chest. We could see for overnight, we go and buy Leroy Sané. And everyone's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Or something mad like that. So I don't know. I think we have to watch this space with this one. At the moment, it's looking pretty cute. But, you know, the Euros has just finished, till the Copa America's just finished. I expect it to be busy in the coming days and weeks.
Well, this is why there's so many strands to this that I'm not going to discount some of the Arsenal fans that think you're going to sign no one of any real note. And I've seen those stories all summer. It's all PR. We're signing no one. We're going back to being tight. There is a chance you sign nobody. Cool. I also think it's also sometimes you've got to hold your nerve in the transfer window. So you look at the Nico Williams situation. I've already seen the Barca fans in the comments say, but he wants Barca. But there's very strong reports from Spain that Barca don't have the money to complete the deal. So if you're Arsenal, you might be sitting there going, right, we could go and get Pedro Neto today, but we prefer Nico Williams. Nico Williams prefers Barca, but is open to us. But if Barca don't get the money up and can't buy him, that might clear the pathway. So you don't want to... You want to get players in for pre-season. You want to sign them as early as possible. But if you look at Nico Williams and you believe he is exponentially a better player that will make Arsenal better today, tomorrow, next week, next year, next 5 years, you might have to hold your nerve and see how that situation transpires as well. And I think that very similar. Man United are doing that with Lenny Yoro. He's our priority. We're working on him. But we've got some other deals kind of lined up. But we're not triggering De Ligt just yet, because if we trigger the De Ligt deal, and then Lenny Yoro says, actually, I'm up for joining. We've just screwed up the opportunity of signing a player that's being referred to as the Mbappe of French defending for his age type thing. So I do sort of look at these scenarios and think to myself, fans have got to be patient because clubs have got to be patient. And I got where LB was coming from. I agree that they need to strengthen their squad, but I still think there's a few areas on the pitch that if you sign the right individuals, you can improve the first 11. Which would in turn improve your squad, you know? And I think that having more competition... Again, I don't necessarily think you need an out-and-out number 9. I think you need someone but the premise is still correct, that someone that influences those games that are going to end in a draw and you win. That person who influences the game where it's hard to break down an opponent and you score a goal. Now, if that's a number 9, great. But if it's a new inside forward... I mean, we saw Nico... A lot of people rave about Nico Williams. We saw him do it at the Euros. There's a reason that Barcelona and other big clubs want him, because he does change games. He has great skill, great pace, can cross, can score goals. And if you add that to your mix, that could be a game changer in itself. It doesn't necessarily have to be the out-and-out number 9 that's doing that, as long as somebody in the attack is adding those extra goals. And, you know, and it isn't just taking goals away from somebody else. It's those moments where this game's tight, it's 0-0, or you're away, I don't know, you're away in Paris Saint-Germain, the Champions League, it's tight and it's hard, and they get that one half opportunity and they make it work and they make it count and they score. And I think someone like Nico Williams could be that. So, yeah, I don't think right now Arsenal fans should panic, although I do get it. I suppose there'd be less panic if Calafiori was already done and over the line. If it was done, it was in the back.
I think sometimes there's the worry that the negotiation skills of Edu and Arteta are not as quick as what Arsenal fans would like. I understand that, and I've been frustrated like Arsenal fans in the past, and it's not just Arteta and Edu. This goes back quite a long way into the Wenger days and before Arsene Wenger. So I definitely agree with that. But what I will say is that although I'm frustrated that Arsenal haven't been able to get a couple of players in the door, tell me other teams that are. Like, if Liverpool was signing 5 by now and Manchester City had their team settled with 4 players coming in and you guys were going and buying 5 or 6, I might sit there and go, what are we doing then, guys? But this has been a very slow window. I mean, there is absolutely nothing to talk about, is there, at the moment?
And Man United are more active. And we've only got one over the line. It looks like in the next week or so we might have... And what was said all along is Man United want to have at least 2 players in before the sort of tour starts. But that starts in like a week. And excuse me, quite a few of the players that I'm still so exhausted after my journey yesterday. so many of the players that we're actually linked to are still not, I'm not even going to be back for the start of the tour because their nations went quite deep into we want Ugarte. He got to the essentially he played the same man. I know they went out in the semis, but they played the third place playoff. So he's going to have a few weeks off as an example. The Dutch got to the semi-final. So even if it's De Ligt and Xerxes, they're not going to be with us in a week's time. Man United have probably been more active. City, Chelsea have signed a couple of players, yes, and then a lot of youngsters. Outside of that, this is why sometimes you've got to look at the wider picture. Madrid have got Mbappe, but that was done months ago. Same as City with Salvio months ago. Nobody else has signed anybody. So I don't think it's necessarily, you've got the Onana's now been done. So there's not like a lot of business has gone on. I am hopeful that in the next few weeks, it kind of, you start to see all the negotiations turn into players. If Man United land Yeni, Yoro and Ugarte, you would then expect, Madrid then have got to find another centre-back. PSG might need to find a midfielder. You'll start to see more and more sort of transfers going on. I also think what's slowing things down is getting the right price for players we're all selling. Like, we're open to selling a lot of our players, but the bids ain't been right yet. The same as yourselves. You guys, it's obvious you're open to Smith Rowe going. You just want the right amount of money for him. You want Nketiah gone. If you actually get the right bids in for Nketiah, the right bids in for Smith Rowe, suddenly there's an extra 70, 80 million pound. I'm sure you're going to go and spend that on a player, if that makes sense. So,
absolutely.
And everyone has to balance their books. And this is the thing that annoys me about like the negative Nellies. They wax lyrical about the net spend that Man City have had. Well, they only have good net spend because they sold. But yet you're moaning that Arsenal are not buying before they sell, but yet you praise other clubs for selling before. So do you know what I mean? I think you're allowed to be angry at your own club. You're allowed to be negative, but you've got to keep it consistent. You've got to keep it consistent, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And listen, we're going to have some outgoings, I think, at Arsenal in the coming days. Fulham are really interested in Smith Rowe, and they're saying they could go up to as much as £40 million to offer or bid for Emil Smith Rowe. Eddie Nketiah has attracted interest from Marseille, and there's some Premier League clubs that are looking to go in for him. Reece Nelson is being linked with Palace and West Ham. Obviously, Kieran Tierney and Ramsdale, we expect to leave the club, so I expect that we'll be looking at that. The Saudi Arabian rumour with Partey has got a little bit quiet. I don't know if that's going to come back, but they're the sort of outgoings that I expect to happen at Arsenal, and that'll bring in, between 100 and 130 million pounds, which isn't a lot when you think of it, that we've actually sold quite a lot there, but we're happy to get rid of these players and move on. That 100 that we get from it, added to the budget of 200 million, which I'm being told we've got, you've got 300 million pounds to spend there in the summer. So you're going to have to, if you sell Eddie, replace him. You're going to have to, if you sell Nelson, replace him. Likewise, Smith Rowe. We're going to have to get a goalkeeper in, which I mentioned earlier. It looks like Calafiori is that guy that we're going to have. And, you say Arsenal actually do need to try and strengthen their first 11. I totally agree with that. And I think that we need to sort out what's happening at left back. We need to understand who our left 8 is and whether we need to buy a 6 or an 8 that goes into that first team with Rice and Odegaard. And we need a centre forward that's an upgrade on Havertz and Jesus. So there's 3 positions there that we clearly need that have to come in. And I think those 3 positions, they do need to be looked at, and you to actually go, whoa, do you know what? They're 3 excellent signings. And I think signings like a Bruno Guimaraes or a De Jong or Joshua Kimmich, Leroy Sané, those type of signings, I think would actually turn heads and go, God, I didn't see that one coming. Arsenal was serious this season. We need to be realistic, Tel. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to be looking at Alexander Isak coming to Arsenal. It might be that we want Nico Williams, but if his heart is set on Barcelona,
this is just it. I get where LB was coming from earlier in City's situation. Just pay the 100 million for Bruno and get it done. I don't agree with the notion, though. I think clubs should be frugal. I think they have to be. There's no point wasting 20 million pound. Because you don't know when you might need that 20 million. I mean, from a City point of view, you don't know when you might need it for legal fees, but you don't know when you'll need that money in the grand scheme of things. You have to be sensible and you have to be smart and not act on emotion. And I think that this super chat here from Tony says it says players are all on holiday too. They need their break before signing and doing any medicals. These blokes must be absolutely knackered. It's also true. It might have someone who's I'm on holiday for 3 weeks, and then and this happens. Yep, I'm going to sign the deal, but I'm on holiday for 3 weeks with the wife and kids. When I come back, we'll get it sorted. And yeah, there's a little bit of squeaky bum time with that because players have changed their minds. But it might, I remember when you guys did the Jesus deal. Obviously, there was no international tournament. Or maybe there was. Was that 2001?
No, it
2002. No, it must have been 2002. Been here 2 seasons. So there was no international tournament because the World Cup was obviously moved to the summer.
that's right.
And I remember a Brazilian journalist said it's all done. It's the players on holiday and will sign it. And I remember I did a video saying, done deal. This journalist has said, it'll be done in 2 weeks. And then for 2 weeks, nothing was said for like 3 or 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And then I started getting comments. Terry, you did the video the other day saying the deal was done. Why hasn't it been announced yet? So, well, if you watch the video, I didn't say it was done. A journalist said it was, and he'll be signing in 2 weeks. And practically 14 days after that guy tweeted, Arsenal announced it. And it was literally because Arsenal were not going to announce it until the ink's dry. They couldn't get the ink dry because the player said, I'm signing it all when I get back off my holiday. And I think fans have just got to stay patient. The 2 tournaments at the same time and everything else, plus holidays, have slowed things down. You can't complete a deal. And sometimes the deal gets done and you get what Xerxes did, comes and signs the deal, then he goes on holiday. But it all depends on where you are at those particular moments. And it's not like playing FIFA where you just sign 4 players in like a couple of days and then you simulate until the start of the season. It's crazy. This here says, if you think your son is the faster runner, then he fouled in all comps. That means you overestimated your son, no?
Is he talking about us overrating players?
About England. The difference is this, though. If I think my son is a really good runner, but he has the wrong coach, and the coach gave him the wrong drills and wasn't fit enough, and the dietitian had him eating the wrong food, so he's about 5 pounds heavier than he should be, or he hasn't been developing the right muscles in the gym for the explosive start he needs, or in training, they haven't done enough work of getting out the blocks quickly. If they haven't noticed that although he's really fast, there's a slight issue with his instep that's losing him hundredths of a second, then I'll be looking at the coaches as well. Him being the fastest runner doesn't mean he doesn't need the right coaching. And that's the thing here. England have got lots of very, very good players, but I think we can all agree that if they were coached better and had a better system, we'd be able to get more out of them. And even if you improve this England team by 20%, that could have won the tournament. This showed how good our players are. This England team played like crap, was completely imbalanced with a manager that's a coward, and we still got to the final. That for me is why we've got one of the better squads at this tournament, my friend. But good challenge. Apparently, Matt Hummels is on his way to Bologna. Well, I read that. I didn't read that room. I read the super chat. You put it in earlier. Maybe that's true. I haven't gone and checked. But that's also another thing that slows deals down. A lot of clubs say, boom, deals all agreed. Everyone's happy. Great. We're not signing anything or processing until we find our replacement. So all of these things are a factor. And anyone that ignores them is just a fool. How big of a loss would Alvarez be? I mean, Alvarez report, we didn't really get a chance to speak to LB about this. Could be leaving Man City. How big an issue do you think this could be for them? And where do you think he'll end up?
This is a really interesting one. I think they might have to sell him, Tel, because I think he wants to leave. If he's come out and said that he wants first team football and Pep can't guarantee him that, which let's be real, he can't because Haaland's there. It might be a Gabriel Jesus scenario where he has to go and find another club. Would they sell to Chelsea or would they sell to a Newcastle or somebody like that? Potentially, but I think if he leaves Man City, he'll go abroad. I think they'll be happy to sell him abroad as well. Danny Olmo to replace him, yeah, I can see that happening. If I'm honest, I don't think it will be a replacement for Alvarez. I think it could be a replacement for if one of the other guys go though. If they lose Bernardo Silva, if they lose KDB, I think Danny Olmo will come in. £50 million release clause, I believe. Fantastic talent. I really rate him. Liked him as well for a while. Definitely good on the for both club and country. It'd be weird at Man City though, because if these deals do go through, this is a completely different Manchester City. You know, if they was to say, okay, Edison, he wants to go Saudi, KDB wants to go Saudi, Bernardo Silva wants to leave, if Alvarez wants to leave as well, and Jack Grealish, who everyone thinks is probably not going to be around for much longer at Manchester City goes, where the hell does it leave Manchester City? So I'll be very, very surprised if these were all to come to fruition. I don't think any of the Manchester City players want to leave. If I'm honest, why would you? Why would any of the players want to leave?
Yeah,
maybe Alvarez because he's not getting first team football, but Edison's and KDBs, do you know what I'm saying? Like, do they really want to go?
Well, it's all fueled by conspiracy theory. And the conspiracy theory is the players want to get out before the club gets in trouble.
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm hearing. Yeah, but is that true?
but that's just fan theory. And as much as the Man United fan in me, of course, wants that to be true, but we've got no. It's too neat. It's too. I think, like, I understand why KDB's. I think what could happen though, and I don't think this is like the court case stuff. I don't believe in any of that. I sort of look at it from the perspective of KDB and Edison maybe looking at it and saying, I've loved it here, but I want something new. I want a new challenge. I want to go somewhere different. You could have Alvarez who wants first team football, but can't get it, as an example. Jack Grealish is probably one of the players that the club doesn't want to keep. And they think, well, he's had 3 years. He's done okay. Could we get better? But then you almost have this like perfect storm of a couple of players want to try something different. One wants to leave because he wants first team football, and somebody they want to get rid of. But you are right. If they end up getting rid of all 4 of them, they might buy 4 new players. But there's no guarantees they're going to be as good, as consistent, and as impactful from the bench as those 4 players have each been respectively. So, you know, City are going to go through something very soon with Pep potentially leaving and a number of these players leaving. Arsenal have seen, United have seen, Liverpool have seen, Chelsea have seen it. When your greatest team ever is unassembled and taken apart and got to be rebuilt, it's a whole new world. It's a complete and utter whole new world. Yeah. That sometimes you build a team again that's as good. But if you think about the last 20 years, great teams, AC Milan, Man United, Liverpool's, Barca's, whoever it may be, the only team that's kind of maintained a level since it was Real Madrid. The great team that won the three-peat of Champions Leagues. They've managed to win 2 more since, and very rarely do teams maintain their levels. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very, very interesting indeed to see how things sort of go. Chike here says Spain were the second team to win 7 out of 7 in an international competition. Terry and Dan, tell me what other country was the first.
Oh, it's going to be someone like Uruguay, isn't it? Or someone like that. It's not going to be Brazil or France or something like that. We'd have to Google it. I don't know. I would guess someone random. I'd guess someone random.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to. It can't be a European team because there hasn't been 7 games. I just don't know. Let us know, Chike. I don't know.
Maybe it's France. Maybe it's France or Brazil.
Brazil in 2002. People are saying
Brazil in 2002. Okay,
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
There we go. Listen, bro, always a pleasure to sit and speak football with you. Viewers, you're amazing. Thank you to all the super chatters. We're back with more content later today. I just want to check something actually before I go, just in case I missed something. I don't think I did. No, I didn't. Yeah, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.